What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. So, we're into week 11, and unfortunately, it is the international break next week. So, last chance to sort of pick up some good points before the international break comes again. And a lot of teams really needed some results this weekend, so led to some very interesting results, a lot of last minute results as well. So, let's get right into it. First game to kick off the weekend was on Saturday morning, Stoke versus Leicester. Another 2-2 draw from what I hear. Apparently this is the third time in a row that it's ended 2-2 at Stoke. So, yeah, I mean, not really a good result for either team. Stoke have started okay so far this season, but their past few results have not been good enough. This one is a game you should kind of expect to win at home. You shouldn't expect to drop points, so they'll be disappointed. And for Leicester, they've not started off very well this season. Already sacked their manager, got a new one in. So, yeah, now with Claude Puel, they're hoping to gain some points, and getting a draw is okay, but at the same time, you want to pick up a few more points against a team that's probably going to be somewhere lower half of the table with you. So, I think Leicester will probably take a little bit more away from this game just because it is a draw away from home, but I still think both teams are going to be pretty disappointed not to get 3 points in this game. The next set of games, first one we'll talk about, Swansea versus Brighton. Most of these games were kind of a surprising result for all of them. This one definitely very surprising. I mean, Swansea have looked pretty good recently. Yes, they lost the last game to Arsenal, but they were up for a majority of the game. And on top of that, it was at the Emirates, so they played pretty well for what they had. This one, though, they're at home. They're facing off against Brighton and Hove Albion. You should expect to win that game, and to come away with a loss is just very disappointing. For Brighton, I mean, I think, isn't this their... Okay, they tied the last one, but they won. Yeah, they beat West Ham at their place, and now they've beaten a team who is looking better recently, Swansea, at their place. It's looking pretty good for Brighton right now, and for Swansea, it's two disappointing results in a row, both of which they were hoping to get something out of it, if even just a point. So, kind of a surprising result here. As far as what this means for both teams, Swansea, I still think they have enough in their team right now to manage to stay out of the relegation battle, but if more of these results keep happening where they should be winning or they should be getting a point at least, like last week, keep popping up, yeah, I could see them definitely struggling against relegation this season. And for Paul Clement, he did very well last season to keep them out of relegation, but this season it needs to be a bit better. This season should be more about getting them back up to being a mid-table team instead of just surviving again. So I'll be very interested to see how much longer he stays. For Brighton, obviously, it's another good result for them. They seem to be on a bit of a high right now, so they'll be hoping that the international break doesn't take away that momentum and they can come back with the same high-flying momentum. Next game, kind of a shocker, but at the same time, not really. Southampton versus Burnley. It is kind of shocking to see the away team get the victory, but when you consider that Burnley have been doing this for most of the season, they're very good on the road. They were very good on the road last year as well. Not that surprising, to be honest. And Southampton not had the best start so far. They've been doing okay, but it's not been great from them. It seems like they're still trying to find their feet. They're getting enough results to keep them out of the relegation battle, but they're not getting enough to keep them away from it. It still feels like a couple bad results like this one, and now all of a sudden you are back into it. So definitely disappointing from Southampton's point of view. Burnley have been doing very well this season. I believe they're sitting fairly high up the table. Let me go look really fast to see. Yeah, I mean, they're in 7th place right now, tied with Liverpool and Arsenal. I mean, that's really, really good from Burnley's point of view, and Sean Dyche will be very proud of his players for doing so well so far this season and getting some very good results. So, just another great result for them. Another sort of surprising result this weekend, Newcastle versus Bournemouth. Newcastle been doing pretty well past few weeks. They've been picking up some good results, putting in some decent performances. Bournemouth have not been looking that great. I think they did get the win last weekend. Oh, no. They played Chelsea last weekend, right. But they played pretty well. They looked like they could hold their own against Chelsea. So they have been stepping up performances a little bit, but the results have not really been coming. They've had a couple wins here and there, but for the most part, it's been like one win and then two losses. So, yeah, the results haven't really been coming for them. For Newcastle, I mean, they win, and then what was that next game? They lost to Burnley last weekend. It was still not bad. The performance to go with it was not terrible. Burnley nicked one late. It was kind of a defensive performance from both teams, to be honest. So going into this weekend, you think that Newcastle maybe has a little bit more of a chance here just because they are at home. They've done fairly well this season at home. And Bournemouth just have not looked good overall, even at home, on the road. And so to see Bournemouth come away with a 1-0 win, kind of a shocking result to me. I've wanted Bournemouth to step up because I feel like they got the players that they needed to get in. They got a good striker. They got a good defender. I felt like it should have been, from the beginning of the season, they've been doing well, but it hasn't been. They went from 8th place last season to now they're struggling against relegation. It's kind of been surprising from them, so this result seems more like what I was expecting at the beginning of the season rather than what I'm expecting now. So, yeah, all three of those results, all three, the away team wins, all three, in my opinion, very surprising. And then finally the last one, not really sure if this is a surprise anymore because Huddersfield have been doing very well, West Brom have not been doing very well. So, yeah, seeing Huddersfield get the 1-0 win at home, yeah, not that surprising. I can see Huddersfield winning on their day, and I can see West Brom not playing well away from home. It's kind of been shocking to me this season how poor West Brom have been under Tony Pulis, because last season they were pretty solid overall, nicking some points off the top teams, doing very well on the road, doing very well at home, just being a difficult team to play against. And so to see Huddersfield take away the 3 points is kind of like, what's happened to you? They've not done as well this season against the top teams. They've struggled for points. Most of the time, by this point, they're somewhere mid-table and they're comfortable. And right now, I gotta go back to the league table again. I mean, they are, where are they? They're 16th. They're 1 point ahead of West Ham in 18th. And only 2 points ahead of Swansea in 19th. So, I mean, you look at that right there. That's not the Tony Pulis way. The Tony Pulis way is to get your job done early. You win some early games. You get some early points. You get some good results against some of the teams early on. And then that's it. You're safe. Right now, they haven't done that. They've had a lot of poor results this season against teams that they should be beating. Or at least getting a point against. So, it's been very surprising from West Brom this season. And this is another result that just makes me wonder if Tony Pulis has it anymore, or if this team has it anymore. The final result on Saturday, West Ham hosted Liverpool. Ultimately, the game that cost Slaven Bilic's job. Of course, it wasn't just this result, because losing 4-1 to Liverpool when you're West Ham, obviously it's not good to lose at home, but it's not like this is what a terrible result. It's the fact that this has been a long time coming. They're in 18th place right now, like I just said. And the performances have not been good enough. The results have not been good enough. It's been a long time coming. After Koeman got sacked by Everton, I'm thinking, all right, Bilic has got to be next, right? And here it is. He's finally out, and I'm not surprised at all. I mean, it's just they have not been good enough this season. They picked up some very good signings over the summer. They and Everton, in my opinion, had the best transfer window over the summer because they picked up players in every position. And neither team has stepped up. And so it's very surprising to me to see West Ham just playing so poorly when last season they were okay. By the end of the season they were in a terrible position because they had some poor results at the end of the season. But you look at their season overall, and it wasn't that bad. They had some very good results. They played pretty well overall. It was just they had some poor results at the end that dropped them down the table near that relegation zone area. So to see that they've improved their team, but the results have not improved at all, shows that, yeah, Bilic, he may be the problem. I'm not sure. But I'll be very interested to see. There's talk of David Moyes possibly coming to West Ham. Obviously, there's also talk of him going to Everton, but I don't know. I'll be very interested to see what manager comes into West Ham and if they're able to do anything better with the team that West Ham have, because I feel like they should be able to. When you pick up Chicharito, who's a very good poacher, you pick up Arnautovic, who's a very good player, very good at setting up chances. You pick up Zabaleta, who's an experienced defender, Joe Hart, experienced keeper. You would think that they'd be good enough to compete, but they haven't been. For Liverpool, though, it's a good result that keeps Jurgen Klopp out of the hot seat for now, but in my opinion, it's not really a result that, I guess, helps him overall. Beating this slumping West Ham team is just kind of like, okay. It's like if you beat Crystal Palace. It's like, yeah, okay. It's Crystal Palace. You beat them. Congratulations. You didn't have Gary Cahill in your team, so it must have been easy for you. Just ask me, a Chelsea fan. So, anyway, on to Sunday, and the first result on Sunday is, of course, the Crystal Palace result. I actually watched that game, and I was kind of interested to see what was going to happen, because Palace have done well against the other London sides this season. They beat Chelsea at their at Palace's place, and then against West Ham at their place, they played pretty well too, and ended up getting a late equalizer. So seeing them go to Wembley to play Spurs was kind of like, what's going to happen? Because Spurs at home this season at Wembley have not been at their best. They finally gotten some wins here and there, but overall they're still not quite there yet. Harry Kane's returning from injury. Dele Alli's out injured. So what's going to happen? And to be honest, Palace should have won the game. And then they didn't. And then they lost 1-0. And to be frank, that's their season. That is their season in a nutshell. So they replaced the manager, and nothing has changed. Roy Hodgson hasn't changed anything for them. They still look like they're playing really well, but they can't finish. I mean, Zaha missed 2 or 3 one-on-one chances. The one where he takes it around the keeper, you got to finish that, but he doesn't. Townsend missed a couple clear-cut chances. They're not finishing, and then they lose 1-0. They dominate Tottenham all game, not all game, but they put the pressure on. They create a lot of dangerous chances. They create mistakes in Tottenham's back line. Chances that you should be putting away, and then you don't finish them. And then Son has one great strike from outside the box, and they're up 1-0. And game over. Now you've lost. So, in my opinion, for Palace, for Tottenham, I wouldn't say this does anything for them. This result does not really help or hurt them. I'll say the performance overall is a bit concerning, because last week, not a great performance from them, and they lose 1-0 against Man U. This week, you get Harry Kane back in the side, and still not the best. Yes, they're missing Dele Alli, who's a crucial player for them, but still, you should be having enough of a backup brigade, I guess, that should be able to help you get a good quality result against a Palace side who's just not good enough this season. But then you struggle against them, and they should have won the game overall. So the performance from Tottenham will be a bit concerning, but I think the result will be enough for them to say, okay, we're good. But for Palace, I mean, it's the same story that they had at the beginning of the season, and nothing has changed, and that's going to be the most concerning part for them, is that they're still doing really well, still playing really well, but they still cannot finish. Next game, Man City versus Arsenal. Should have been a draw. Just a little bit. So, yeah, watching this game, I mean, yeah, the referees have once again helped out Man City. And it's becoming the story of the season so far. Yes, one of the big stories for Man City, obviously, is how well they're playing. A lot of players, it doesn't matter who they put in, typically they're all doing well. So that's been one of the biggest stories coming out of Man City so far this season, is how well they're playing. But another big story coming out of it, for me at least, is that they are getting all the lucky calls. Sterling goes down way too easily, ref instantly gives him the penalty. David Silva, at least half a step, if not more, offsides. There's half of his body standing offsides. Difficult to see, but most ARs will see it, but then they don't see it in this game. And yes, Arsenal should do better and not turn off, but leads to a goal. So 2 mistakes from the referees, and all of a sudden, Man City are up 3-1. That's kind of been the story of Man City's season. They've had some very fortunate calls that have gone their way and helped them win games. Whether it puts them up 1-0 early in a game where they were kind of struggling to get a goal, or there are a couple games where it has won them the game or saved them the game. It's just kind of been what's been going on for them. And it's not anything like, oh, there's a conspiracy and Pep Guardiola's... I saw something about when you bring the style of Barcelona over, but you also bring the referees over. I'm not saying anything like that, but yeah, it does kind of happen that way sometimes, where you just get all the fortunate calls. And for Man City, that's what's been going on. They've been getting all the fortunate calls, and it's clearly been helping them. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting to see that. For Arsenal, the performance was decent, but still not quite what they need. They're still lacking something in the midfield that I don't think they have on the team. They don't have somebody that can control the midfield for them. Xhaka's not good enough to do it. Coughlin's not good enough to do it. Ramsey's not good enough to do it. They don't have anybody in there that can control that midfield area like a Conte or a Matic or, for Man City, a Fernandinho, honestly. So I'll be very interested to see if they start to look at that in the January transfer window and try to find a midfielder who's going to be able to do that for them, because if not, they're going to struggle for a lot of this season because they can't win in the midfield. For Man City, though, I mean, obviously, it's another good result against one of the top 6 sides. I'll be very interested to see what happens in the Manchester derby, because that seems to be the one that's building up. They've already hurdled most of their problem teams this season in Chelsea and Burnley. So, yeah, I'll be very interested to see what happens there. It'll be most likely a very tactical match between Mourinho and Pep, so that one's going to be very interesting. But anyway, last 2 games on Sunday happened at the same time. First one, Everton versus Watford. Surprisingly enough, Everton actually won. Still not a good performance from them. It took a comeback from 2-0 down, which is very good to see that they've got the fight to come back from 2-0 down and win 3-0 or 3-2. But yeah, they're still leaking goals, still struggling to defend, but they will take a bit of comfort knowing that they can score. That's been one of their biggest problems so far this season, is that they can't convert. They've done okay defensively. They've limited to 1 or 2 goals, 0 or 1 goals per match, but it's been they tie 0-0 or they lose 1-0. Something like that. They haven't been able to really score that often. So getting 3 goals in a match will definitely give them a lot of confidence, and winning the match will give them even more confidence. For Watford, they've started off very well this season. This result will, I guess, knock them down to reality a little bit. Seeing them give away the 2-0 lead like that will sort of, I guess, hurt their pride a little bit. I don't think it's going to really affect them in the long run. I think they'll be okay and go on from this and say, all right, let's work over the international break. Let's get ourselves back up to where we should be. So I don't think this hurts them too much, because they've set themselves up well enough in the first part of the season to where they lose one match, it's not the end of the world, especially if it's an away match. But it will be concerning that they did give up a 2-0 lead. That's something that will be very frustrating for them. And then, of course, the final game, one I've already talked about, the Chelsea-Man U result. For Chelsea, it's another good result that they've definitely needed so far this season. Results have been coming off and on. This one is one you need to win. It's against Man U, it's against Jose Mourinho, your old manager, and it's at Stamford Bridge as well. This is one you need to win. It can't be one where you just kind of eke by with a draw, or you eke by and give up a late equalizer or something. You have to see this one through and get the victory, and they did. It'll be a big confidence boost. They'll be pretty upset that the international break happens right after this, because they want to take this momentum and go forward with it. But one thing that it definitely shows is that Conte has been missed in the midfield for them. As soon as he comes back in, they instantly just look a better team overall. So for Man U, obviously it's not the injuries that's the problem here. But, I mean, you really look at it, and this is another result where Mourinho struggled to find the tactics to get the right win today, or the right result yesterday. It's kind of becoming a thing in the past few games where he sets his tactics up very, I'm not going to say strangely, but they're not quite what they need in that specific game, and it turns into either a narrow win or a draw, and in this case, a narrow loss. So, yeah, it's not been good for them. I think a lot of that is down to the fact that first half of the season, when they were playing really well and matching Man City stride for stride, a lot of that was down to they were not facing very difficult teams. they finally faced a few of the top 6 teams, and guess what? Now they've dropped some points. They draw against Liverpool, they lose to Huddersfield, and now they've lost to Chelsea. So, yeah, it's a bit concerning for the Man U fans that they've started to drop off these past few games while Man City continues to just rise. But once they start to get some of those players back from injury that they have, I do think they'll start to get a bit more of a rhythm. Definitely put together some good results here and there. But, one of the things it shows is that they are fallible. And until some team can find the hole in Man City, which there are holes, just no team has been able to successfully exploit them yet. So until teams exploit those problems that Man City has in their back line, they're still going to be the best team so far. So, yeah, I'll be very interested to see what happens in the December months, the winter months when games really start piling on. You've got cup games rolling back-to-back to league games, and it's just, game and then 2 days and then another game and then 2 days and another game. And then the depth of these squads will really be tested, and I'll be very interested to see how it's going to go for a lot of them. So I'm really looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys are too, but unfortunately the international break has got to take up our next weekend. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts in these games this weekend? Which teams played the best and the worst? Let me know. We can talk about it and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Premier League week reviews, and I'll see you guys 2 weeks from now. Peace out.